The former Conservative Health Minister, Ken Clarke, is giving evidence to the infected blood inquiry today. Lord Clarke was a Conservative Health Minister in the early 1980s when up to 30,000 people with haemophilia and other bleeding disorders were given contaminated blood products. Victims were given a clotting agent which had been imported from the United States, where it was made from plasma donated by prisoners and other groups at risk from blood-borne viruses. Well, around 3,000 people died after being given these blood products, which contained HIV and hepatitis in the 70s and 80s. Speaking at the inquiry, Lord Clarke said this.
I was never the minister directly responsible for blood products. I was never asked to take a decision on blood products. I never intervened to take a decision on blood products. Blood products, I was never directly responsible. Unless someone pointed out to me that something was going on so far as the blood transfusion service or blood products, I had nothing to do with it. And that was true for most of my time in the Department of Health.
Well, this inquiry continues. Our health correspondent Ashish Joshi has been watching proceedings.
This is an inquiry that demands truth and justice, and that was Ken Clarke's opening statement. So that would have been a crushing blow to many of the families and survivors and relatives who are here attending this hearing. They've been waiting for decades for Ken Clarke to come and present his side of the story. This is the man who was a health minister between 1982 and 1985 when the threat of contaminated blood products was first emerging. We had the emergence of AIDS and the threat that AIDS posed to blood products being used by haemophiliacs in this country. Let's talk now to Des Collins, who is a lawyer, a solicitor representing hundreds of the victims of the infected blood scandal. Mr. Collins, I understand this was a tetchy exchange at the best of times. I understand there were some gasps from some of the family members attending when they heard what Mr. Clarke had to say.
I think the families, the bereaved, the affected and the infected, the victims of this tragedy waited, well, I know they waited 40 years for today. They waited 40 years for the truth to come out, and I think they're very naturally suspicious of what is being said this morning, has been said this morning. Now, whether that suspicion is justified would be wrong of me to say, because Lord Clarke is still in the witness box and will remain so, as I understand, for the next 2.5 days. But I know that the victims, the families to whom I've spoken this morning, are not entirely happy, and that is putting it mildly.
Yeah, I spoke to one of the victims and campaigners a little earlier before this interview, and he said he was furious. He said he was expecting answers, and he didn't hear anything, which made him suggest that Mr. Clarke would come forward with, or at least try and help the process.
I think it's almost an adversarial process at the moment in the witness box. It is not the witness coming forward and saying, look, I want to help this inquiry. Now, the inquiry has been going for a couple of years now, and a lot of witnesses have come forward and they've been totally transparent and said, look, don't remember as much as I'd like to, but this is what happened, this is how I saw it, this is how I thought it should happen, this is how it didn't happen. What we're not getting at the moment so far, and that's what I'm picking up from the number of clients to whom I've spoken this morning, we're not getting that truth necessarily, we're not getting that transparency, and we're not getting to the point where the victims feel that their questions, and they've waited for 40 years for these questions to be answered, that they will find that they are being answered.